To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
What is it about Disney that makes us happy? Is it the magical whistle as your ticket is scanned at the main gate? Is it the seafaring smell of pirate water? Or is it charting a course to a land where you may never grow up? Whether it's singing a familiar song, watching a movie, or riding your favorite attraction for the 100th time, Disney undeniably has a way to warm our hearts, believe in magic, and bring joy into our lives. This is Main Gate Magic, a podcast where we break down and discuss the infectious happiness, delight, and thrill of all things Disney. Good evening and welcome everybody to another episode of Main Gate Magic. We are back. It's been a couple of weeks because I had some work to do, some actual real work to do, but it was for a new job, a new promotion. So very happy to have done that. But it's the first show, the one and only show out of 20. This is, I think, what am I looking at? Episode 28. This is 28 episodes. It was the first one that I ever missed. But we're back anyway. Welcome everybody. I'm going to go kind of around the corner, around the screen here, and welcome back, Leia. How have you been?
I'm wonderful. How are you guys?
Fantastic. And then we also have Mr. C. Andrew Nelson joining us back today. This is the second time I think you've been on our show, correct?
Yes, it is. Greetings from the dark side.
Yes, sir. Thank you for joining. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason that I had asked you to come along and visit us on today's topic is because we have a wonderful Halloween show for us, for everybody today, and I figured it was only appropriate to talk about The Nightmare Before Christmas, with Halloween being only, what is it, like 2 days away now, I think, right? Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But before we do that, Andrew and I have been a little busy.
Yes, we have.
I took a trip up to Utah recently, and Andrew as well, but mine was a little bit more extended to visit some family up there as well. But we went to the very first, the inaugural MouseCon, Disney MouseCon convention. What was that? It was a week ago Sunday, right?
I believe so, yeah.
A week ago Sunday, yeah.
Yeah.
The very first one. Now there's a MouseCon, all Disney related, vendors and actors, artists, things like that.
Yep.
And such a fun time. Run by Steve Wyatt, very nice guy. He's been doing the one in Concord and Bakersfield now for how long would you say it is? Like,
oh my gosh,
several
years now.
Yeah. I haven't been to all of them. I think I only came.
I have.
Yeah, have you really? Yeah.
Yes.
That's right, because you were telling me the show that we went to this last Sunday is where MouseCon started, which is not the same hotel that he does it in now.
Yes. Yeah, so it's done here in the San Francisco Bay Area and in Concord. And then he's been doing it also in Bakersfield, California. But, and he also does another show down there, Bakersfield Comic-Con, which if you're a fan of Big Bang Theory, it gets referenced on that show quite often. But this was the first time they'd done MouseCon anywhere outside of California. And so they did it in Salt Lake City. And it was good. It was fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I would say it was a really good turnout. We didn't have a lot of vendors. I say we, but Steve wasn't able to get as many vendors, I think, as he would have liked to have. But the attendance was impressive.
Yeah.
Was it as much as in California? Like what?
I don't think it's quite as much as it was in California, but it was a good attendance, especially for a new show. And I think next year when they do it, it's going to be gangbusters. I think so too. Yeah,
because now
everybody seemed to be really pleased with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now the word's out, and people will know. They'll spread the word and be like, "Oh yeah, it was so cool," and they said that they hope to have more and things like that. So yeah.
Who was all there? Like the vendors? Like, yeah.
Vendor-wise, I don't know.
I don't know. There were about maybe 10 vendors. I think at this one wasn't a lot. Yeah. And they were all people local too. Well, there were some people that had come from California to be there as vendors as well. But selling all sorts of Disney related merchandise. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and we did some panels, and it was great, and it was so much fun. We should do it again this coming weekend.
Why not?
Are you guys doing it?
Well, we're going to be at MouseCon here in the San Francisco Bay Area in Concord, California. So,
I wish I could be there.
I know. That's right, because you did come out for one before. So,
I did. I got to meet you and Irene Bedard, Jim Magan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chad Fry.
That's right.
Chad Fry, yes. I bought a Winnie the Pooh picture from him, an original.
He was out there for the one in Utah.
And so was Irene. Yeah. So.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then yesterday, Andrew and I, no, not yesterday, sorry, Sunday. It feels like it was yesterday already.
I know it does.
It was just so quick. You just blinked your eyes and it's already Tuesday for crying out loud. So, Sunday was it was the Concord Halloween convention.
It was Contra Costa Con, they call it.
Contra Costa Con, right. But it was called a Halloween event, and there was a costume competition for the kiddies and the adults. Andrew was there, of course. I was hanging out with him at his table. David
Gonzalez, who was he was from the special edition, Return of the Jedi special edition. And he was the big like taiko type drummer in Jabba's palace, and that was it's always fun to see David. But who was sitting next to us on the other side, Jason?
Oh, that would have been Mr. Jim Cummings himself, the man of 700 voices for Disney. Literally.
Yes, I know. Yes, Winnie the Pooh and Tigger.
Yeah. Did you guys talk to him?
Yes,
we sure did.
Yes, we did.
Oh my gosh.
Yes,
he was wonderful. Really nice guy.
Yeah, and I got his autograph and everything, and I go whenever time that I talk to somebody and I ask, hey, would you want to be on the podcast someday? Jim's a very busy man. He has his own podcast as well.
Yes,
but he's also one of those guys that is. You'll have to go through my manager or agent or something like that. I'm like,
he's
so busy. Yeah,
which I don't mind doing, but the only thing that I do mind is how much it costs, and that's something that I've not yet really felt comfortable of doing for any of the celebrities.
Maybe it won't. Maybe it won't.
I know. Maybe. I've reached out to a couple others, in the past. I know Jody Benson. I reached out to her before. Still hadn't gotten word back, but
that's all right.
I'm not going to stop trying because I have hope that this will grow.
Right. Never give up, never surrender. So.
That's right.
Great movie.
So yeah, that was, and then there was a gentleman there who I think was an announcer for the WWE or something like that back in the day.
I think he was a wrestler. He might have been a wrestler. I'm not sure.
He was a wrestler. Oh, okay.
I don't know. I'm not well steeped in wrestling, so I'm not. So
right, yeah, me neither. I used to be back in the day, but that was like when I was a teen, so that was a little while ago. And then this coming Sunday is the next MouseCon in Concord. And we've got a lot of the same familiar faces that are going to be there as always. Of course, Andrew and I will be there. Mr. Jerry Cornell, who I know is watching. And we'll get to all those that are commenting in just a moment here. But in the meantime, I wanted to kind of just talk about who's going to be there on Sunday. So
our buddy Joshua.
Yes, Joshua Schaefer will be there as well. Mr. Fun Facts himself, who I would love to get back on the show again. But I know his schedule has not been able to accommodate that lately, which is fine. And I apologize if I'm going to be messing up these names, but Katie Von Till, who is apparently the current voice of Disney's Snow White, so that'll be really fun to meet her. This gentleman, I've seen and follow him on TikTok, Jim Meskman, I think is how you pronounce his name, who is the voice of Genie when Robin Williams wasn't doing the voice of Genie, and many others apparently. And he also does other fantastic characters.
He's brilliant.
He's spot on for Jean-Luc Picard, and he even kind of looks like him a little bit now. And that he's got less hair on the top. But it'll be fun to meet him. Joe Ochman is an American actor who most active in voiceover roles in various animation shows, films, and video games. He is the fourth and current voice of Jiminy Cricket since 2014.
I'll be interested in meeting him because I met Eddie Carroll before years ago, and who was one of the previous voices of Jiminy Cricket. And
that's awesome.
I love that.
Blaine Weaver, who is the voice of Peter Pan himself, will be there as well. I did
Now Leia's like, oh, I really wish I was going.
And she's like, like geeking out a little bit.
Oh, I'm really happy for you guys.
Anybody invited me, but
oh bother.
Oh bother. Rick Farmelo is going to be there again. He was also in the Salt Lake City one. He's an animator from Disney, did characters such as Abu, LeFou. Wow, that's funny how that worked out. And Scuttle from The Little Mermaid.
Right.
One of my favorite Disney characters.
Same.
John Morris, the voice of Andy from Pixar, will be returning, as well as Mary Gibbs, the voice of Boo from Monsters, Inc., and one of our members of Adventurous Ideas, the star of Heroes of Extinction, I would say. One of the stars, I should say. One of the stars. Yes. And then we talked about Jerry,
Jerry.
And we talked about you. You're going to be there.
Yeah, I'll be there.
And some of the goofballs from Walt's Apartment podcast are going to be there as well. They're even going to be doing a karaoke night at a local pub the night before. So I might be trying to join them
you should,
in the merriment. Because they're gonna be doing Disney karaoke the night before, drinking beer and singing Disney songs. So,
sounds like your kryptonite right there.
The kryptonite, no,
like
that's
okay. You're it's the you're irresistible.
Yes, it's a magnet that's like drawn to it. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We always have a good time. There's usually like a dinner the night before, get together with everybody and say hello before the show.
Yeah.
And we will have our Adventurous Ideas panel, as you have in the background there.
Yes.
And this time it's going to be a little different, though. We're going to be doing, you said, behind the scenes.
Yeah, more of a behind the scenes of how we put our projects together. So that'll be good.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's the news, folks. That's where we've been. And then, of course, like I said, last week I was actually doing some training for my new position with my company. So that's all done and over with now. And I don't actually start the new job until the 18th, I think.
Yes.
But I'm all rip roaring and ready to go. So we're on board. So let's start saying hello to some people that are actually watching the show and in the chat today. Patricia, of course, is here.
Hello, Patricia.
Hey, everybody. And she says, congrats on the promotion. Thank you so much, Patricia. Veronica's watching as well. It's the C. Andrew Nelson. And Veronica says, Leia!
Hi, Veronica.
Oh, and speaking of Walt's Apartment, they're watching us as well. Hey, what's going on, guys? Or I don't know if it's Joey or if that's one of the. I don't know who runs the YouTube channel. So if you're listening, pop your name in there so I know how to address you instead of "Hey, Walt's Apartment." Thanks for the comment.
Maybe it's actually Walt.
Okay. And my father's in as well. If you're not 15 minutes early, you're late.
That's right.
That's my dad. Veronica chimed in with our one of the songs from our theme tonight. This is Halloween. This is Halloween. And there's the hi, Jason and crew. Have fun. Wish I could go. I'm guessing that was for MouseCon.
No.
And Mr. Jerry Cornell, I said he is watching, so he's saying, hey, y'all.
Hey.
And Veronica says hello as well, Jerry. Hello. And let's see. I'm not even going to preview this because Jerry's comments are usually safe. Let's put it what he says. Sometimes it's a patience game to get a guest to do a podcast and or interview. I have waited several years to get interviews from various individuals, and it was definitely worth the wait.
That's true. Jerry's got a lot of experience in that area. So.
Yep. I was trying to see if I could get Bob Gurr to come on the show, but apparently he's been like super, super busy now. I feel like he's been doing tons and tons of publicity and TikToks and YouTubes and stuff like that.
He's got his own podcast too. So.
Oh, does he really now?
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Wow.
He's got the Bob Gurr Show.
Crazy. So he's probably busier than he's ever been nowadays.
Who's Bob Gurr?
Disney Imagineer.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He's the one. He's the man who designed and created the Omnimover. For the used in the Haunted Mansion, used in Adventure Through Inner Space. That whole same technology.
Wow.
He's one of the oldest.
Created the Autopia cars. Everything. A lot of mechanical stuff. Wonderful guy.
Just like Andrew, tons of stories.
He's got
story for everything.
Lots of stories. Yes.
Yeah.
We need to put Bob and Terry Harden into a room together and just let them talk for days.
I wouldn't even need to talk. I would just be like, Bob, Terry, Bob, go.
Yeah.
And go.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Dad says, Jiminy is my hero. That's awesome. Hey, he's your conscious too. He is the conscious Pinocchio. Yeah. I want a Disney karaoke. I know that sounds like fun, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh, I would fly to California just to do that with geeking out Disney.
You got to book your ticket quick because it's on Saturday night, 6:30 or 6 o'clock to 9:30. So I'm trying to decide now. Like, do I want if there's a dinner the night before, do I want to go to that, or do I want to go to karaoke, or do I want to do both?
Oh man, I would do karaoke.
It depends on the song selection, right?
Oh no, not really. I know a lot of songs. Leia knows that.
I do too, but they're not all in my key. So.
My father says Jason sings and plays guitar. Half of that is true. I sing. I do not play guitar. I tried to learn. I took lessons, but I am not as ambidextrous as I thought I was.
I tried to learn too back when I was in high school. Growing up in California in high school in the 70s. I was in a band because you had to be. It was mandatory. So we were three guys who could not play guitar. There was one of us who could not play guitar a little bit better than the others could not play guitar. I was not that guy. I was actually the worst one of us. So, because when I do this stops. And when I do this, this stops.
That's just me. I can't focus on both at the same time. But my dad, he does actually play guitar and he plays it quite well, actually. And,
my dad played drums. He's retired. He doesn't do it anymore, but he played drums and saxophone and clarinet. And my mom plays guitar and ukulele and piano, and I play MP3s and CDs. So
hey, it's a talent too.
Leia, I know that you play the piano and also at least the flute. Do you have any other instruments?
You're actually very musical.
Yes.
I love music. No, those are actually the only two. And I also tried to play guitar, and my kryptonite was my fingers kept touching the strings. I couldn't not touch the strings. And it would just sound jarring. And I was like, gosh, how do they bend their fingers to get those D's and G's? And so.
Yeah, it's tough. My sister-in-law is in. Hello, Leanne. Good to see you in there tonight. And Veronica says, I wonder if Bob knew my great-uncle Carl, who worked on the rides, too. I have no idea.
It's a possibility.
Join his podcast and ask him a question. I don't know if he does it live like we do. I haven't seen his podcast, but now that I know it's out there, I might go see it. So, Speaking of music, let's talk about our subject tonight.
Okay.
The subject is The Nightmare Before Christmas. Now, did anybody watch it before the show today?
Nope.
I did my homework. I didn't have to do a lot because I've actually seen it quite a few times, and it's an awesome movie. But Andrew, since I have you here, I know that you didn't work on the original movie.
Right.
You said that you worked on I think you said the rotoscoping for the 3D version, right?
In 2006. In 2006, the film was converted to 3D, stereoscopic. So you go into the theater with the funny glasses on, and you can see everything popping off the screen at you there.
Right.
But nowadays, for films, if it's something that was originally done as just a flat 2D production, there's various algorithms that on computers that you can run footage through that gives you that left eye right eye separation. But back in 2006, that did not exist. So what we had to do was we had to go through and isolate all the characters from the background using a process called rotoscoping, which is basically you're tracing the outline of every single character, every single frame, just to separate them. Yikes. And then from that they could do the left eye, right eye separation. But it's not just the characters; it's the foreground objects, it's the midground objects, it's parts of the background, and that's a very painstaking, crazy thing to do, especially in a film like that where it's very dark. You've got all these characters, many of them overlapping in scenes, and it's like you're trying to include all the little bits and pieces of this one character, and it's like, all right, is that tentacle belong to that character or this character? And it's like it gets really crazy, get a little squirrely doing that sort of thing. The other interesting thing was that for some of the main characters like Jack and Sally and Oogie Boogie, not only were we doing rotoscoping to get them off of their backgrounds, but then animators at ILM were then they put together the sort of rudimentary 3D models, animating them to the exact same movements that the characters did in the films, and then mapping that footage that we had isolated of the main characters, mapping that onto the 3D to give it even more depth. So crazy stuff. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. The movie itself is only, I didn't really even, I looked this up right before the show tonight. The movie itself is only 1 hour and 16 minutes long. It's very, very, very short.
Yeah.
But I know that when you do that stuff, like you said, you got to go frame by frame, character by character. How much time do you think that you spent? Like what? Like I don't mean like how much time did you spend doing it, but like how many minutes out of the movie do you think that you like filled doing your part?
Actual running time on screen, all the stuff that I did, probably, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes of the stuff that I did. Is what's on screen, but it takes days. It takes weeks.
Imagine frame by
do it all. Yes. Yeah.
And the team of people, I'd imagine, as well. Like, because you're doing would you do every character on the screen, or were you in charge of some
it depends on the shot. Sometimes we would end up with like, one main character. If there's only 1 or 2 characters in the shot, maybe you would do both of them. In some cases you would do just one. In other cases we had like group shots, and it's like, okay, you take this character, and this character, and then you take this one, and they just assign them to different people. So yeah. But it was
gosh.
It was, excuse the expression, a nightmare at times. So,
Andrew, so when you say tracing, what do you mean? Like, did you physically what does tracing exactly mean?
Basically, okay, I'm assuming you've probably used or seen Photoshop.
Yeah.
And you can mask off certain areas of the image that you're working on. Okay, imagine doing that frame by frame.
Wow.
So you're creating a mask by hand. You're creating a matte by hand that isolates a particular part of the image. This is used a lot in visual effects. Yes. And sometimes it gets kind of crazy. But let's say if you have live action footage, like say from Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace, which I worked on. And you've got a shot where you've got to insert Jar Jar Binks into the shot. And he has to walk in front of Obi-Wan Kenobi, but behind Qui-Gon Jinn. Yeah. And so to do that, you have to trace the outline of Qui-Gon Jinn every single frame by creating this matte by hand. So it's different than a process like blue screen or green screen, where you're creating the mattes by just telling the computer everywhere you see that solid color of blue or green, remove that and give me a clear area. We call it an alpha channel. That's one way of making a matte. But this is one that rotoscoping is doing it by hand. And in some cases, the rotoscoper's job is also to do digital paint. So you're painting out things that did not need to be in shots, or you're painting things back in that should have been there and weren't. So examples would be like if you've got safety harnesses or tethers, or you've got on set, or you've got tracking markers so that the match move artists can match the camera movement that was on set, so that your CG images that you're adding to the shot don't slide around on the background. All that stuff has to go away. There's it's a very long, tedious process. I've done it on a lot of different movies. Probably the most tedious was Perfect Storm, which although in the film we made it a perfect storm, when they shot it, it was actually pretty much a sunny day. And so we had to do sky replacements for a lot of shots. And so you're going through, and you're not just tracing the outline of the characters, like Mark Wahlberg and others. You're actually tracing the rigging of the ship and the mast and everything like that. Gosh. Just so you can get rid of that and put in the dark clouds instead. But on Nightmare before Christmas, we had all of these different characters that, in order to get that stereoscopic, that depth in there, we had to isolate each character to and every object and every background bit. So
well, and in the perfect storm, you also got all the water elements flying everywhere too.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that probably makes it a little bit more difficult as well.
Yeah. Little bit of trivia there with Perfect Storm. I know it's not a Disney film, but it ties into Star Wars.
It's okay.
Is that the reason why ILM took on the project of Perfect Storm was strictly for the fact that that George Lucas was going to have a water planet in Attack of the Clones, and so they wanted to do water simulation first on another project. So basically, Warner Brothers paid for the R&D for the water in Attack of the Clones. So
they were the guinea pig, huh?
Yes.
I love it. That's perfect.
Yeah.
I think it worked out pretty well.
It did.
Yeah.
In both films.
So is this technology that is kind of like they don't do this anymore? Like they have more advanced quick techniques?
No. It's, well, as far as the stereoscopic part, it's they just have algorithms that do it. So, like you'll go see a movie, like sometimes it doesn't happen too often anymore. It seems to be like it was kind of a fad for a while, and now it's sort of fading out. You don't see, films being released, in 3D or 2D that much.
You really don't. Yeah.
But for a hot minute there, it was happening quite a bit. So films like Avengers Endgame was released in 3D stereoscopic, but it was not shot that way at all. And so normally when you're shooting something that is 3D, you have two cameras that are side by side, or they have their special lens arrangement so that you've got something that represents the left eye and the right eye, like what our vision would be. But for a film like Endgame, they just ran it through a very high-tech algorithm that created the illusion of the left eye right eye separation. So that's why you can always tell a little bit when something was specifically shot 3D as opposed to just a post production process.
Like Avatar. Avatar, I think, was shot.
I was thinking of Avatar. Yeah.
Exactly.
Then that movie looked incredible, and that's the crazy thing about 3D too. I remember seeing The Nightmare Before Christmas after it got released in 3D because I'm like, oh, that's going to be beautiful, and I loved it because it reminded me of how you used to look through a ViewMaster.
Yes.
It was that kind of depth of field that really reminded me of it. But the crazy thing is about when you start watching 3D, at least for me. It looks amazing at first, and you really get immersed in it, and it's beautiful, and you're looking at all the details, and then you start getting into the story and the songs, if there is any, and then it just becomes a part of what you're watching. Yeah, you forget it's in 3D.
You do. Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest with you.
Put them on, then maybe.
Yeah.
But
I honestly don't like 3D movies. I don't like watching 3D movies per se, because it takes, for me, I know it's supposed to immerse people in it. It actually takes me out of it because I'm always constantly looking at the technical part of it there.
Oh, really?
There are a few exceptions as far as feature films go. I enjoyed Tron. What was it? The
Legacy.
Tron Legacy. Yeah. Because
I love that movie.
I like the gimmick of everything in the real world was 2D, but everything in the game world was 3D. Yeah. And that was shot. It was shot specifically to be 3D. So I like that. I also enjoyed Cars 2. Which was rendered 3D, so they did two completely separate renders to get the different angle for the left eye right eye thing. So that didn't bother me, but other films it really bothers me unless it's something specifically created with the idea of it being the focus on the 3D, like Captain EO. Loved watching Captain EO, and
that's a good one.
It's not nearly as fun when it's not 3D. So
and Honey, I Shrunk the Audience as well.
Oh yeah, Honey, I Shrunk the Audience.
See, I like that kind of like more immersive.
Yeah.
For me, that's more immersive than a feature film. So.
Yeah.
Veronica says 3D films make me a little nauseous.
Yeah,
that's another reason people don't like to go see 3D movies. Yeah.
I think maybe that's why the fad is sort of faded now. So
yeah, a little bit.
And it was a bit more expensive. Like I think it was like $5 to $10 more expensive to watch a movie in the theater.
When you go to the theater,
Yeah.
There's only select movies that I'll go see in 3D. So, hey, thanks everybody for joining us on our show today where we've been talking about 3D. Thank you for tuning in.
Sorry.
I wanted to say real quick, what did you guys think? My favorite 3D movies to watch actually were Beauty and the Beast and the Lion King, the cartoons, because it was so 3D. Like, it was very you saw an image here, then it was like so exaggerated. You could see the road use. What's that word? What Walt used to do with layers of.
It's the multi-plane camera.
Multi-plane. Yeah.
With the 3D, you could really see the multi-layer, and I thought it was just stunning.
I agree. Yeah. Although I also have I also have a penchant for like the old 3D Three Stooges movies too. So
I love the Three Stooges.
Yes. And Vincent Price's film House of Wax is probably my favorite 3D movie.
Yeah. I've never seen the 3D version of that, but I love that movie.
It's a great movie. Yes.
My favorite 3D movie, and then we'll get back into Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yes.
Jaws 3D.
Oh gosh, yes.
Never saw it in 3D.
It's not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination.
It's a horrible movie.
It's a fun movie.
It is. It's kind of a cult classic now because it is just the effects are just they're garbage. They're absolute garbage. And then they, of course, shot it in 3D, with the red and blue lenses, I think, and it was just atrocious, but still so fun to watch, even in 2D nowadays, because you can still kind of see the effects they did to make it come at you on the screen.
I'm going to throw one more 3D thing in before you get back to Nightmare Before Christmas.
Go for it.
There's this wonderful bad movie called Robot Monster. It was a real low budget science fiction film. They couldn't even afford like space suits for the aliens, the spacemen. So what they ended up doing was they ended up having gorilla costumes and they put a space helmet on it. It's a hysterical film. And it was shot up at Bronson Canyon in Los Angeles area, which has been, the caves there have been used for tons of different things. Well, the film was released in 3D. The problem was it wasn't really entirely shot in 3D. So they did do the red and green tinting on it, and gave people the glasses, but it didn't do anything.
Was it red and green? Because actually,
it depends. Sometimes it was red and green. Sometimes it was red and blue. So yeah.
I think the ones that I remember from my generation were red and blue.
Yeah,
but then they switched it up eventually, and they did like the polarized ones for the theaters, which was a lot.
But
better
Robot Monster was released in 3D. But was not shot in 3D, and there was no 3D effect when you went into the theater. It was
that just sounds painful.
It's a wonderfully awful movie. But anyway, but back to an actual wonderful good movie.
Actually, and we're going to start off with a comment I've been kind of holding from Veronica.
Okay.
Apparently, the movie took 3 years to make.
Yes.
And I believe that is a lot of frame by frame by frame by frame, and there's multiple characters. Now, if you look at it and you get really detailed into it, you can see the different ways that they actually change the character faces, which I love to watch the behind the scenes when it comes to this kind of stuff, because it makes you wonder, like, when you see an animated film in 2D, it's a painted cell from back in the day. And you just draw a new picture every time you want the character to make a different movement. But in this particular case, they actually swapped out heads. They swapped out sections of mouths and eyes and, things like that in different parts of the bodies and stuff to make them give them that sort of, animated feel. And actually, I was looking back at it, and the mayor, who is one of my favorite characters in the movie, not only because he's two-faced, literally, but, and they use that, of course, as a politician, I'm sure, in the story. But I think his eyes and also his mouth, you can see the outline around each, part of his face, where they literally, and I saw the behind the scenes on this, they took out the mouth and then they replaced the mouth to get a different part of the movement. Yeah. And then, of course,
I think they didn't try to hide that just because it works for his character so much.
Yes. Yeah. It just became part of his drawing, so to speak.
Because he's just a facade, basically.
He is. Total facade. Yeah. I mean, there's even a line in there. He's like, "Jack, I can't make decisions. I'm only an elected official."
That's a great line. But I love the film like because, when I first started off in, wanting to be a visual effects artist, I wanted to be a stop motion animator. I wanted to do, Ray Harryhausen was my hero, and so
I love him.
I studied him and got to meet him, years later, and but he was a big influence on me. The interesting thing about stop motion up until just recently was that you can't. There's no undo button. If you make a mistake, you got to go back and reshoot it because it's frame by frame. And that's a lot of work. That's one reason why a film like Nightmare Before Christmas, not everything is shot together at the same time. Some things are shot against blue screen or green screen or something like that, so that you can composite it together. So if something gets screwed up in the production process, if you're shooting things, you don't have to go back and reanimate everything and all the characters all at once. Nowadays, we can kind of go back and digitally fix things, but still stop motion is still very much a linear process where you go from the first frame to the last frame, and you don't jump around in that. So
but the technology nowadays is really cool the way because now I don't know if they had the same thing back then, but now they have these overlays that they have the camera showing on, so that way they can see all the characters in their prior positions and then map it for the next position. And I'm sure that helps, but I mean, it's still a tedious process. And I know that Aardman Animation still does stop motion and even has a new Wallace and Gromit movie coming out pretty soon. I
love Wallace and Gromit. Those three originals have my heart. When they go to the cheese moon, oh my gosh, and the penguin.
It's cheese, Gromit. It's cheese.
Yes. I was gonna say one of my absolute favorite Ray Harryhausen movies that he worked on was, did you guys ever see Clash of the Titans? He did Medusa. And
love Clash of the Titans.
Oh,
that scene with Medusa is just amazing. No, Ray was wonderful. I mean, you have to remember that he was a one-man effects company. He and he was under contract to Columbia Pictures in the same way that a big star like Humphrey Bogart or something would have been under contract to Warner Brothers or something. The studio actually built films around him, and Ray would work because he made his own miniatures, he made his own sets, he made his own characters. Early on, his father made the armatures for them inside, but otherwise Ray did everything. He was his own cinematographer, his own compositor. He did all his composites in camera. It was crazy, and he would work like crazy for like 3 months just solid on a project all by himself. And then, as he told me, his wife was very happy. Then he would have the rest of the year off. So,
and it had to be synced with live action too.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Because back then it was the stop motion was the monsters that were interacting with the actual live actors from the movie. So
in some cases it was done as rear projection. Some cases it was done as front screen projection, and in some cases it was just Ray very, very, very carefully creating mats in front of the camera and then winding the footage back and then putting something else
matching
there.
animation up.
I have a brother who is loves film, and he had a book of Rays. I mean, just he's a complete. And his name is Matthias, and he would do stop motion. It was his passion, and Ray was a hero of his. And I asked him, I said, Matthias, do you ever get anxious? Like one shot, record. And he's like, no. And I was like, you have to have a very special personality for the patience and the focus
You do.
And he loved it. Like, it was absolutely thrilling for him.
I enjoyed it too. That was what I did. First taught myself how to do stop motion starting at age 12, and was doing it up until my 20s, and then got preoccupied with other effects type stuff. So yes.
Patricia says those suitcases with Jack's different expressions are one of my favorite behind the scenes, and I know the one she's talking about too. They literally open up this suitcase and it is all his heads.
Yes.
And all the different ooh, ah, ee, ah, oh, things.
All the mouth phenoms and everything.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, just the process of sculpting those individually, just to get all sorts of different expressions, and then tying them together to make actual words. Just it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
So, did you guys ever actually see? So, Andrew and Leia, did you guys either one of you see it in 3D?
No, I worked on it and I never saw it in 3D.
I've seen the movie a long time ago. I think when it first came out, I saw it. So it's been a hot minute. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it when it first came out, and I saw it when it first hit home video, and then I saw lots of chunks of it on my monitor while I was working on the conversion of it. But no, I never got to see the actual release in 3D. And then interestingly, it was never released again after that. And I spent all that money on that, and so I know exactly how much they spent on it.
I think some theaters still bring it back every once in a while, but not the 3D version. It's just the regular 2D. But
it never went to home video on 3D, which even though there were like 3D Blu-ray players. So
okay, what about the songs? How much of the songs do you guys remember? Now I know a lot about.
I remember quite a bit of it. Yes.
No,
Any
I don't
favorites? Leia, you go first. We'll give Andrew a second to think.
Yeah.
Jason, I don't remember the song.
Oh,
I know it from the original movie. And you sing it really good. The one that goes, "What I do, I am the best," or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's Jack's song. Yeah,
Lament or something. Yeah, but I don't know.
I think it is Jack's Lament. Yeah, exactly.
I just like
talking about Halloween doing Halloween over and over and just needing something new.
Yes. I just like This Is Halloween. There's something about that. It just sets the tone for the whole film. It's like
it does.
And it's also the one song that really makes me think musical theater too. So it just has that feel.
So.
And I did a lot of musical theater growing up.
All the songs kind of have that sort of musical Broadway-ish type, feel to it.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when it's Jack and Sally together, or you've got like a whole chorus of people. You can just almost picture everybody on stage wearing costumes doing the same thing. It's a very visual movie and also very auditory. Actually, most of the movie is songs. A lot of it is songs. There's very little dialogue. I noticed. I'm like, there'd be little bits of pieces of dialogue, and then boom, music, and then a little bit more of dialogue, and then boom, music. So, but yeah, the songs are incredible. Jack's Lament, definitely one of my favorites. This Is Halloween is a good one. And let's see. Of course, the Oogie Boogie song. Gotta love Ken
that.
Page.
Yes.
May he rest in peace.
Yes.
Poor Ken. I mean, I was very, very fortunate to be able to see him and meet him really quickly at the Galaxy Con. And, it was just so surreal. Like, what was it like? Maybe, not even 2 months later, they're saying that he passed away. And I'm like, what?
It seemed very sudden, yes.
And he seemed like he had so much energy and life in him and everything. So that's what made it so confusing. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
What happened? But anyway, Chris Sarandon was down there as well. I got to meet him and shake his hand, or I did a fist bump with him. I think that was his preference. Who, of course, was the voice of Jack Skellington, but only
the speaking voice.
Yes. Right, the speaking voice, but the singing voice was Danny Elfman himself, who also composed the music for the movie as well.
I love Danny Elfman.
I saw Danny Elfman in concert years ago when he was in the band Oingo Boingo. So,
no way! That's amazing.
Yeah. I didn't come to appreciate Oingo Boingo until I was a little bit older. I didn't really listen to it when I was younger.
Yeah,
but he's got
at this time of year, Dead Man's Party is in high rotation here in our house. So.
It's a long song too. I listened to it the other day, and I'm like, wow, this thing is still playing.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. What else we got? We talked about the songs. We talked about the characters. Talked a little bit about the actors. Another one who is no longer with us anymore, Paul Rubens, was also in the movie. Right. I think he played one of the kids. Locke, Shock, and Barrel were the three kids. They were Oogie's boys, or Oogie's gang, crew, whatever you want to call it. Right, good one. Minions, two boys and a girl. And here's the thing: there's the plot of this movie is crazy. And Lisa and I were talking about this a little bit Sunday night when we were watching it, because Jack's tired of Halloween. He's wanting to do something more. He's looking for something more out of life, and then he finds Christmas Town. Now, when he's going through the forest and he finds all the doors around him to Thanksgiving Land and Easter Land, and then there's Christmas. He opens the door, And at first he looks in, then he's distracted by Zero, and then all of a sudden he gets pulled into the door. Like he never steps through it. He actually gets like sucked into it. So, I mean, I'm probably overthinking this, which I tend to do sometimes. But I'm wondering, was that like part of his destiny, or was that maybe like forces unknown pulling him because he needed it so badly? I don't know. I know exactly. Was it Andrew behind the door going like, "It is your destiny, Jack"?
Yes.
I just thought that was really interesting that he didn't really ever step through it. He just kind of got like fell into not even fell, just like a vacuum. So, and then of course, he makes the decision after many scientific discoveries where he's crushing ornaments and things like that he's gonna take over Christmas. That way, he'll make it his own and everything, and he ends up ruining it. And then just decides that he's the Pumpkin King after all. And I'm like, nah, never mind. I'm going to go back to doing Halloween again.
Right.
So.
And it's his passion.
This is the question that I think has been asked of this movie a lot. It's along the similar lines of Who Shot First from the Star Wars universe.
Oh, gosh.
But is The Nightmare Before Christmas a Halloween movie, or is it a Christmas movie, or is it both?
Oh, I would definitely think Halloween.
You think it's Halloween?
You think it's Halloween? I think it's both.
You think it's both?
I think it's both.
I mean, it's definitely got both. If you were to flip a coin and heads is, let's say heads is Halloween and tails is Christmas, and you had to make a decision, what would you call?
I need to watch the movie again, by the way. So
I think I'd agree with Leia. I think it's probably a Halloween movie.
I'm kind of on the same page.
Yeah, because it's all about the fact that he's sort of dissatisfied with Halloween. He wants something different, but it's still, he goes back to being, he's still Jack.
Right. With a little bit of Christmas sprinkled in, because I think at the very end, even Santa Claus comes and he like spreads some Christmas cheer over Halloween town. So they kind of got a flavor for it. Now it's just back to Halloween. But yeah, I agree, because it's like the movie starts off with Halloween, even though Halloween had just finished, because they were celebrating the ending of Halloween, and it was a great night and blah, blah, blah. They're giving away trophies and awards for the most blood sucked in one night.
Yes.
And of course it went to the vampires, I mean.
I love the vampire characters too.
They're great. They're great.
The design of them. Yeah.
And then they got the zombies who are doing like the blues band and everything. Yes. And there's even like there's a talking head inside of the bass, bass, what do you call it? It almost like how when they play a cello or something like that.
Oh, like
the hole.
Yeah. There's a head inside, and it's talking, it's singing as well.
Yeah.
But then so it ends with that, and then of course we go into Jack's thing, and then the Christmas, but then it also ends with Halloween as well. Yeah. That's why I feel like it's more of a it's more of a Halloween movie than anything else. Mm-hmm. But a very very good Halloween movie.
All right.
I think it's
all right. Well, I'm going to ask a question.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you haven't asked it, is setting Jack and Sally aside, or maybe not, what's your favorite character?
I think I kind of already called it earlier when I said the mayor. The mayor was definitely one of my favorite characters, just because of how like two-sided. I know he said two-faced earlier, but I mean there's the happy side where he's the smiling, kissing babies kind of elected official, and then there's the flip side, which could be either an angry face or a sad face. There was like those two kind of emotions were set on that side, but it was almost always when he was freaking out and worried about something because he didn't know what to do. I mean, he was worried about next Halloween 364 days before the next holiday.
Yes, I know.
I mean, that's how crazy this guy was. I mean, so I mean that I think the concept behind that character, the makeup, the architecture of his being is why I like him so much.
Yeah.
Next.
What about you, Leia?
Man, Andrew, I gotta admit, I gotta see the movie again. That is actually one that I'm enjoying hearing the discussion, but I only saw it once, so it's been a while. How about you?
For me, it's got to be Oogie Boogie.
Yeah,
I just love that character.
Figured you were going there.
I just love this sort of big bombastic qualities about him.
I'm gonna be watching this week. I'm actually like, man, this sounds like a good movie. Like I need to see.
And Andrew, if you think about it, Oogie was kind of a stooge in this. I mean, he really wasn't. He really was just kind of thrown into this. Yeah. Jack even told the kids, keep Santa Claus away, or excuse me, Sandy Claus. Keep him away from that no good Oogie Boogie. But they took him to Oogie Boogie anyway. And then Oogie's like, oh, now I'm going to kidnap you and I'm going to keep you here forever. And it's like he's just doing his job as a villain, right?
Right.
And nothing else happened. But when Jack went to go try to rescue him, of course, that's when, the fight happened. And, I don't know. I kind of feel like he got the short end of the stick when he's just kind of being who he is.
True. Yeah. Which is kind of true of several Disney villains.
True. I mean, it's always a way to look at things because, it's like what Obi-Wan says, from a certain point of view.
Yes, that's right.
And Anakin says, like, from my point of view, the Jedi are bad.
Right. Now, so you were just down, Jason, you were just recently down in Disneyland.
Yes.
And they have the Haunted Mansion Holiday, which is the whole, Nightmare Before Christmas overlay on the Haunted Mansion. Mm-hmm. And so you've seen that in person. I've only seen it in video form. So what do you think of it?
It's beautiful. I mean, they do overlays for things like, Main Street. They put the decorations up and they put stuff up on the castle. There are a couple of other rides, I think, within the Disney park realm that are done here and there. Like Space Mountain gets an overlay for Halloween. It has the Ghost Galaxy.
Yeah.
I don't think that they actually had that this year, though. If I remember
correctly.
They
don't have it this year.
I think they stopped it.
Yeah.
But Guardians of the Galaxy even has Monsters After Dark, where they do a different scene instead of it just being the regular Guardians of the Galaxy. It's more monster focused.
Right.
But the Nightmare Before Christmas, the time that they spend to drop everything on there, and I honestly don't care if it's the same thing every year after year after year. It is something I always look forward to every time I go. It's one of the funnest things to go because not only does the look of the ride change, but everything audio-wise changes as well. The narration from your ghost host changes. The music changes. And they even add characters in there, like Jack and Sally and Oogie Boogie at the end. Even Lock, Shock, and Barrel are included in the hitchhiking ghost scene.
Right.
If you pass through a mirror that has a present on it, they pop up and they blow a puff of air at you. So it's just
Yeah.
And it doesn't really take them that long to set it up, but it's just so much fun every year.
And I was surprised when they first did it. I first heard about it. I thought, oh no, that's going to ruin the attraction, and it didn't. It doesn't at all. It's amazing how well it fits into the Haunted Mansion there. Now, I guess they only do it in California and I think Tokyo. I don't think they do it anywhere else. Yeah, and they don't do it at any of the other mansions. So.
Correct.
It'd be kind of hard to do it at like Phantom Manor in Paris, but
well, and that's a completely different ride too. I want to say that one's I think it's a trackless car.
It's the same one. No, you're thinking of Mystic Manor in
Manor is
Hong
what I'm
Kong.
thinking of. Okay,
but
I don't know if I've ever actually seen Oh no, I have seen a video of Phantom Manor. They even have like an old ghost town at the end of the ride and everything. Yeah. Yeah, that wouldn't fit. There's a lot of stuff in that ride that wouldn't work.
But
do you know how many Disney Worlds there are in the world? Like how many theme parks?
There's quite a few theme parks.
Are there?
You talk of the Magic Kingdom style theme parks. Let's see. There's the original one in California. There's Magic Kingdom in Florida. There's Tokyo Disneyland. There's Disneyland. It's Disneyland Paris, right? And then there's Hong Kong Disneyland and Shanghai Disneyland.
Right.
But then there's
also
the other parks
Disney
too.
Parks.
The other Disney parks like Epcot and Animal Kingdom,
Disney
and
Sea, and
studio parks and everything. Yeah.
Studio.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the one park in the U.S. that I haven't been to yet. The Disney
Which one? The
Studios.
studio?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's because a lot of the stuff that they have there, they have in Disneyland as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, mostly Galaxy's Edge, the Star Wars
Yeah.
stuff, and then they have the Tower of Terror,
Right.
which I wouldn't mind going back on again because they didn't
Yeah.
change theirs over to Guardians of the Galaxy,
Right.
and I wouldn't mind going.
That's the full version. What they built in California was sort of scaled down at the time.
Yes, it had to be because it needed a smaller footprint.
Right.
But that one, I think you go on more of a track on the bottom,
Right.
and then you go up, and then up and down, and up and down, and then stuff like that. Yeah, so it's definitely more immersive. Patricia had made a comment earlier that said, even as a short, it would be funny to see him, Jack, visit the other holidays and try to be helpful.
I would love to see that.
Yeah. Now they did actually incorporate the Easter Bunny in a few scenes because when Jack told them to go get Sandy Claus, the kids or the minions, the Lock, Shock, and Barrel, ended up kidnapping the Easter Bunny at first. Yeah. So he was in there for a bit, and Jack apologized to the Easter Bunny and told him to go put him back and everything. But it would be, I think it would be interesting to see, like St. Patrick's Day or even Thanksgiving for that matter. Like it'd be like Tom the Turkey or something like that, something crazy. Yeah.
From what I understand.
Do you remember? Oh, sorry. Do you remember what part of the movie that you worked on? Like that you traced?
It was shots all throughout the film. It was here and there. Yeah. It's just, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there, a little bit there. Some of them were shots with Jack. Some of them were shots with the other characters. I think the only character I didn't actually work on was my favorite, which is Oogie Boogie. I didn't do any shots with Oogie Boogie. Okay. But
well, I can imagine that was tough one though, because even at the very end, his seams get pulled off and all those bugs are everywhere. Yes. I mean, that's a lot of moving parts.
I'm glad I didn't work on that.
Yeah, but I'm sure you're glad. Yeah.
From what I understand, Tim Burton has control over the film. That Disney can't just do whatever they want with it. They always have to get approval for things. So anytime even for the Haunted Mansion Holiday, if they're going to add something to it or take something away, he has to give the thumbs up on that. So.
Oh wow, that's great.
Yeah. I never really realized. I thought he was the one that directed the movie, but he is not the director.
No, he produced it.
Somebody named Henry Selick.
Henry Selick, yes.
Yeah, and so Tim Burton produced it, and he also was one of the writers as well.
Yes.
So,
and he came up with the whole idea in the first place. Yeah.
Well, it's his it's part of his universe for sure.
Yes.
And I'm going to do like one final thing because I know that there's one theory that I have seen out there in the Tim Burton movies that is related to something in The Nightmare Before Christmas, and that is where Zero came from. So in other Tim Burton movies, and I should have probably researched this more before I talked about it, but there has been a dog in several different Tim Burton movies, right? I know in Frankenweenie, that's kind of like the middle ground there. I think there was another dog before that. I want to say there might have been actually one even in The Corpse Bride. But there was a dog that was alive, right?
Yes.
And then the dog died and became a skeleton or like a Frankenstein, right?
Yes.
And then I think in The Corpse Bride, it was a skeleton dog.
Right.
And then in Nightmare Before Christmas, now these are all different orders, obviously. In The Nightmare Before Christmas, there is a ghost dog.
Yes.
So somebody made the theory that this is the same dog through all the films, just going through different phases of its life and death.
I would not be surprised.
I thought that was kind of cool.
Yes.
It looks the same. The dog, it has that pointed nose and the cute little, it's the same profile and stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like a rounded, like a curved snout, like Zero has.
Yeah.
And, just...
I'm trying to remember back now to Tim Burton's first short that he did under Disney, which is called Vincent, about a little boy who wants to be Vincent Price. And,
that was one of his first works, yeah.
But I'm trying to remember if there was a dog in that. I can't remember now. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah, I don't recall that one either. It's been a long time since I've watched it. I think I've seen it a couple of times, but I only remember Vincent. But yeah, and It's interesting too. I wonder like how many people just think that Tim Burton films are just a little too weird for them. I love the quirkiness of them and
I have
the
never
art
felt
style.
that. They're
But
just perfect.
but you get what I mean. Some of the
Yeah.
stuff is like it's almost oddly disturbing in certain
Oh,
points.
yeah.
Even like Edward Scissorhands
Edward Scissorhands
is a little bit like, okay, that's kind of
it has
weird,
its very
you know?
disturbing moments to it.
And
Yes.
even Nightmare Before Christmas has some disturbing moments in it
Yeah.
as well, where you're just like, okay, I don't know if I really like this or not, but
And
I
you
love
can't
it.
get too
I
much
love
more
Tim
disturbing
Burton.
than Sweeney Todd. So
Yeah, oh gosh, yeah, that's definitely
Sweeney Todd's
something that
intense.
kids should be. Yeah,
Yes.
that's a be careful before you watch.
Yes.
All right, Dad, I will definitely give her a hug. She just wasn't able to be on the show today, so I will give her a hug once the show is over, which is right now, actually. We
Right
are
now.
a minute after the hour, so I think it's a perfect time to wrap it up
Yes.
and say that the conversation was wonderful. I know we talked about 3D a lot, but I hope we covered enough on the Nightmare Before Christmas to make it an actual valid topic for the evening.
And if you've never seen the film, if you're out there and you've never seen it, see it.
Yes, please. It's Disney Plus. It's available to watch on there. I mean, I think a lot of people have it except Andrew.
Right.
And it take an hour and 16 minutes out of your day to watch it. The music is wonderful. The cast of characters is very well chosen, and the story is brilliant. So great show. Thanks, Leia, very much again for joining us. And Andrew, thank you very much for coming in, despite all of the stuff you got going on at your house.
Yes.
I know things are a little messy there right now, but I do appreciate you coming.
Everything
back
under
and,
control.
helping us
Situation
out.
normal.
Right. Yeah. Just a small electrical leak.
Yes. Exactly.
Not radiation. It's electrical this time.
Yes.
So. Yes, Patricia, thank you very much. Great show. Have fun at MouseCon. We will
Yes.
do that. And
yes, and if you're anywhere near the San Francisco Bay Area, please come by MouseCon. It's a great show, and you can actually see us in person. Ooh.
That's right. Concord. It's the Concord Plaza Inn, I think is the name of the hotel, and it is on Sunday, November 3rd. I think the tickets are still on sale online. VIP tickets get you in a half an hour early. At 9:30, and then the main show starts at 10 o'clock, and I think it runs until 5. So come on down and see us. Why don't you?
You can go to mouse-con.com and find out all about it.
Thank you. All right, that's going to do it for this show, guys. Thanks again for watching and listening, whichever platform you happen to choose to watch us or listen to us on. Stay tuned for the topic for next week's show. I think I'm going to go back to the Disney Renaissance era. We need to finish that episode because we kind of only stopped maybe 3 or 4 movies in, and we need to finish off the rest of them. So we might go back to that one.
We stopped at Aladdin, but I think it needs to be talked about more because it's Aladdin.
Yeah, I think so too. So
I
might even have to. Well, eventually we'll probably have our own show for just Aladdin itself because that movie has got a lot to talk about in itself. So
it's so
all right,
magical.
guys. Everybody have a wonderful
Jason.
evening. Have a great week and a fun upcoming weekend, and we hope to see you on the next one.
Blessings to you.
Bye-bye.